Welcome to this first interview of the year with Yantra. And I'm very grateful to Yantra that she agreed to do this interview, and especially because she doesn't really know what it is all about. So I would like Yantra maybe to start explaining to everyone what you do. So I know that you do satsang, but not everybody may know what satsang actually means. Yeah, so if you could maybe explain a little bit about that, and also just wanted to mention that we've known each other for 15 years now.
Ah, yes, it's beautiful.
And yeah, it's a beautiful connection, I always felt. So yeah, so Yantra and I have been friends for a long time, and yeah, I would like to...
colleagues, friends and colleagues.
Yes. And I would like to, get a little bit of wisdom from Yantra, because she's got plenty of that.
That was such a beautiful introduction, darling. Thank you so much. Yes, I have no idea about this interview. So what I do is satsang. So satsang isn't so much something I do, it's an offering that comes through here, where we sit in truth, in presence, in opening, where we get to see whatever is going on in life can be used to point us home. So really, rather than suffering, we get to be free here and now. Not an idea of freedom, but actually free, no matter what's going on in our life, no matter, as we spoke about downstairs, no matter how difficult or uncomfortable or how beautiful it might be, we get to be free.
That's beautiful. I really like this. So Yantra has been doing this work for also about 15 years?
Oh, 19 years, yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought she is the perfect expert for the question of this month, or the theme of this month. And the theme of this month is, who am I? And in the great scheme of things, which means the whole year is dedicated to self-love. And I wanted to get a little bit of a different approach to the topic self-love, because I feel sometimes it's confused with other things. Sometimes it's confused with egotism and self-absorption and that sort of stuff. That's not what I understand when I think about self-love. And then in other instances, it might be to become so in love with ourselves that we forget that we're here to do something in terms of being of service or something like that. So I thought, well, maybe Yantra can help us to dive a little bit deeper into this topic.
Beautiful. So do you want me to speak about self-love, or who am I?
Who am I?
Who am I? So who am I is an interesting question, because many people don't ask this question. It never really comes up. Who am I? And if they do ask this question, as we know, that first of all the discovery points to, I am someone with a body, with a life, with a name, with a form, with a set of circumstances. And usually this someone is someone that we're trying to like. So we may like, and underneath, often there's a sense of dislike. So we can also see that in this inquiry of who am I, sometimes it's not just the body and the gender and the naming, but what I do. So I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a something else, I work in this field or that field, I'm a parent or I'm not, or whatever labelling is often the starting point of the inquiry. But really the thing is, we can change all of that. So it comes and goes. Even when we look at the body and the form and the gender And now this may not necessarily be a favourable topic for a lot of people, but even the gender can be changed. Even though we're born with a gender, the gender can be changed. So it's not really who we are. This that comes and goes. So then the question of who am I points to something so much deeper. Mm-hmm. So if I am not this naming, if I'm not this identity, if I'm not this role, then who am I? And the mind can do a scrambling as it tries to cling and find, who am I then if I'm not this, if I'm not the body, not the form, not the emotions, not the mind, not the senses, not the circumstances, not the naming. And it actually causes us to become very still and silent with the answer, because the answer isn't born of mind. The answer isn't really born from the identity. And so this silent awareness, this grace, some people would call this God. I often refer to it as God myself. So this, we discover ourselves to be wider and deeper and vaster and formless, even though there's a form showing up, even though there's a life showing up. And so this inquiry takes us to the truth of who we are living in this life, not the idea of who we are living a life. Yes, and then to the question that you said, you know, this theme of self-love, then what then is self? When we have this inquiry of who am I, what is this that we call myself? Or deeper than that, the truthfulness of self that is not separate to you or me or anyone watching in.
I knew it would go deep here.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because in a way as well, it might seem deep for people listening, but that's just the starting point. Mm-hmm. It's just the starting point, because this grace, once discovered, the truthfulness of the self once discovered, there is no end to this discovery, to this grace, to this self that's discovered. And again, whether we call it self or grace or God, we find that who we are is discovered everywhere and in everything. And the ripple effect of this in our world then is huge, when we discover, not think, oh, I'm not separate to anyone or anything, but the discovery that who I am at this deepest level is not separate. Our relationship to the world is totally transformed.
And it can be mind-boggling, you know, if you never really thought about these things, or even, you know, maybe you're just in the beginning of starting to meditate or anything like that, or maybe doing a bit of yoga. It's all these things are coming up, but sometimes we just don't know how to go about this stuff.
Yes. So in the beginning, when we meditate, it might be in order to still the mind, and that's that entryway into silence, that entryway into this at first that seems like it's coming and going, because we're giving our attention to everything that seems real in life, and a tiny bit of attention to meditation and stillness, a tiny bit of attention to yoga, or a tiny bit of attention to self-love. But the more we give our attention to what's discovered through meditation, what's discovered through yoga, what's discovered through really deeply loving the self, our attention is given to it more and more, and so it's almost like it reverses. Another beloved teacher, she says that life then becomes suddenly right way up.
I like that.
Yeah, as though we've been living upside down and life becomes right way up. So instead of a little bit of attention given to this that we are, that is self, all of the attention, effortless attention, is here.
Yes, I like the idea of being effortless, because a lot of people, when they start doing meditation, they find this is a big effort, because they have such hard time to, let the mind just do their own little thing and maybe send it on a little holiday or anything like that. And they find this effortful.
Yes.
And I find it beautiful how you said, how when you flip that around, how it becomes effortless.
Effortless, yes, it does. And like anything in life that's something new, that seems new, so this discovery, we actually discover that it's not new. This that we are has always been here. Our attention has been somewhere else. At first, though, it's like riding a bike or learning to walk. There's a huge effort for a little one to lift their head. There's a huge effort for a little one to sit up, to crawl, to pull themselves up, to walk, stand, walk, run. There's a lot of falling down that happens in that. And I think it's useful for people to know that when they're starting on this journey of self-inquiry, self-discovery, self-love, that it might feel that way, that it might feel like some effort is involved in directing the attention here. What's effortless, though, is when we ask ourselves the question, what do we really want? And deeper and deeper and deeper, this question, what do we really want? We find that at the deepest level, beyond all of the superficial and surface wants, we want to know the truth of ourself. Even the desire for happiness, still even deeper than that, this desire to know, who am I really at the deepest level? And so it might first seem effortful, but in asking that question, it becomes effortless, definitely effortless. Yeah. So it's worth that initial sense that it feels like we're falling down, but that's the mind's conversation about what's happening. It's not actually the truth of the discovery.
It's very beautiful.
Yes.
So I think one of the other aspects of misguided self-love is when people discover something about themselves that they don't like. And then they're in this conflict. How can I practice self-love if I don't like this aspect of myself? And I was wondering if you could give some advice about that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So should we use something as an example? Like the body, maybe?
Yeah, the body is good.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a common one, so let's just do that.
Yes. So there's a reason that we dislike the body, and it's usually because we've taken on thoughts and beliefs about the body that are nothing to do with us and nothing deeper to do with who we are. And so this sense of dislike is because it doesn't match an idea or an ideal, which is also an idea, which is a thought that we have, even if it's society's thought that we can see through history. If we look at the body and maybe how the body looks, the image of the body and the ideal of the body is changed all the way through time. So there isn't one way that we need to look. And so if we're willing to actually scratch the surface, why don't I like this? What is that really? What's deeper than that? And so we may start to uncover, I'll be left, or I'll be abandoned, or I'm afraid I won't be loved, or I won't be good enough, and so then this opening into self-love, we do get to see these aspects that we might not like, that we try and keep a gloss or a cover over. And one of our beautiful teachers, Brandon Bays of The Journey, speaks of this. We often feel that we're trying to keep this gloss like a varnish, like nail polish on the outside, but inside there's gunk going on. So the invitation through self-love is to open and see what's here, what's being covered over. And then even if this comes up, these feelings of fear or shame or loss or whatever it is, hurt, betrayal, it could be anything, it could be anger, it could be anything at all. Are we willing to open to that, and is it real? Is it actually who I am? Because that also comes and goes. The thought about whether I like myself or not, the feeling that comes up also comes and goes. And so it points us again deeper to who am I underneath all of this. Yeah, so I would encourage you to persevere with seeing, first of all, what is the self that I'm trying to love? What am I trying to love on top of? Am I willing to meet what feels unlovable, unmeetable? And maybe you need support. You know, Eva's a beautiful therapist. I offer satsang. There's all kinds of support available. If you need support, you reach out and you ask for support. But as this inquiry opens, what's discovered is these things that we thought were real are not real. They're not us. But we can't bypass that as a spiritual idea or ideal. The mind would love that to happen. But we have to dive in. We actually need to dive in and meet what's been covered over and find this love that's even deeper than that. Yeah.
And it really means to go through discomfort sometimes, because it's not comfortable to meet a belief that, you know, you maybe carried around with you for years and years, and you're so accustomed to that something wants to hold on to that belief.
And it feels real, because it's been believed for so long that it feels real. And not only does it feel real like out here, it feels real like that's who I am, and I don't want anybody else to see that or discover that or know that about me. In our willingness to inquire, then we get to see, yes, it might be uncomfortable, but it's also not real. And then we get to see, well, what is self-love really, more deeply? So it's a beautiful topic. I can see why a year-long topic. It's so beautiful, because it covers so much, from spirituality and friendships and family and the physicality and health and food and everything, you know.
That's right.
Yes, affects everything. And the way we treat others and the way we treat our communities and the whole world and the earth that we live on and everything.
Yeah,
everything
really
is affected.
Yeah. That went through my head when I thought about all that.
Yes.
Because I thought, I can easily fill a whole year with that stuff.
Yes. Where someone listening in might think, oh, self-love, oh, I'll have a foot bath and a massage and go on with my life. And maybe that's enough of a toe dip to start with, but then it has to be refilled and refilled and refilled. So how do we open to this that doesn't even need to be refilled?
Exactly.
Yes. That it becomes second nature, that the body is being taken care of, that the life is being taken care of, that the relationships are being taken care of as an act of self-love. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I think that's why it's so important to have that, at least a beginning of this journey, to find out who we really are, like
Yes.
what is the truth of us, you know,
Yes.
beyond all the labeling and all that we just mentioned.
Yes, which even as you say that, you can see like where would that come up in our life to have that inquiry, unless it's something comes to point us to that. So it does. It might be like this, listening to an interview. It might be seeing a therapist. It might be in yoga. It might be attending an event or a retreat. It could be something deep within us that we realise is in discord, and it points us to this inquiry: who am I really? Because there's a level of dissatisfaction, even if the life looks shiny.
Yeah.
Often with a shiny life there's dissatisfaction. So are we willing to let that point us? And what that means really is to take the time to stop, to open, to be with, to allow, to discover, to reach out if it needs support on that path of self-inquiry, and to see where are we selling out, where are we not loving.
I also really like how you often say it's a coming home.
Ah, yes.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes,
it always gives me
yes.
like goosebumps when you talk about that.
Yeah, and
It is.
isn't that beautiful? And it has that feeling because you know home.
Yes.
So home is not necessarily a physical place. We call home where our family is, we call home somewhere where we live, we call home somewhere that might be secure, and yet this coming home, this discovery of who we are. Remember just a bit before in this when we were speaking that it's so familiar, so it might feel like we're taking steps that feel a little bit of effort, but who we are is effortless because it is this coming home to ourself, this that's always been known. It's like a remembering, and we get to see we'd never forgotten, and then discovering that home is here where we are, not located even to the physical one.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's a sweetness, a soft sweetness. It may feel bumpy on the way in, but there's a soft sweetness to this if we're willing right here to
Yes.
discover home.
And that's also that then any challenges from the outside world sort of, I mean, they're still there, obviously, but they're sort of have a different quality to them. Would you agree with that?
The quality seems to change because our responding is from a truthful place. Now,
Yeah.
people might hear that and think, oh, well, I'm truthful, you know, because the mind is not really trustworthy and truthful in that way. So when we respond from this truthful place, I lost my it's just because it's so, there's a simplicity, you know. So what you said was the outer circumstances might seem like they don't hold such angst for us. That's what you were pointing to.
So, you know, like the
Yes.
example, like a relationship breaks down, loved one dies,
Yes.
you lose your home, whatever, you know.
Yes, yes. So
Could be anything, really.
yes, so the most traumatic things, and they might not be traumatic, but you know, traumatic things occur in life, and our response isn't caught up in who we are in relationship to that and how that determines who we are. Instead, there's this soft sweetness. Now, I don't want that misconstrued that, you know, when my son died, for example, it wasn't, as you know, I wasn't going around with the soft, sweet smile on my face as though that wasn't painful. So that was painful, that was devastating. The same loss of home, loss of income, loss of life, loss of health can be extremely challenging and painful. And yet in our willingness to be still and here with what's occurring, we discover the peace or the soft sweetness. We discover home that's untouched, even though life may look in turmoil. And so this that you're speaking of, it was the way we respond or react to it.
Yes. Yeah.
Seems very different because we're not taking it personally. Now that may be difficult then for people to even hear that.
Yes, I know.
You know,
Yeah.
it may be very difficult for people to hear that, because when life is challenging, we are taking it personally. That's the way the majority of the world lives. And if we're willing to open to it, and maybe that's with support, if we're willing to open to it, we discover who we are is unaffected or at the effect of the circumstance of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that but you know, really that's where this inquiry points us.
That's right. It's
Yes.
yeah. It's really hard to put into words, isn't it?
It is,
It
yes, yes.
But I think anyone who ever got a taste of it understands it
Yes.
in a different way. You know, if somebody has never looked at this, they might go like, what's going on there? I don't understand it. You know what they're talking about. But I think once we actually made that step and got a glimpse of this homecoming,
Yes.
I think we sort of get it on a
Yes.
different level.
Yeah, so then what is that? What is that step? What is that first step? Even right now for people listening in,
Mm-hmm.
to take a pause right where we are. To take a breath right where we are. To open the awareness, the senses, to everything that's here, right where we are. To notice everything, even the running commentary, which is the mind and the thought, you notice it. And to bring the awareness really fully here. It's not that you have to stop the thoughts or the emotions or the sensations in the body. You notice everything, and yet you bring your awareness right here. And it's as though it's even closer than the breath, deeper, more quiet. And you know, you may feel that you're distracted again and again and again, and yet this glimpse of home, this peace, this quiet, this stillness, even in the midst of chaos. Now, everyone that's listening in, there will be something inside that says, yes. Maybe they have glimpsed that, they remember that from when they were a child, or maybe there are moments in nature, or you know, moments in meditation, moments in lovemaking even, where there's a glimpse. What tends to happen is that rather than self-love, we try and feed the beast, and we do more and more and more to get that glimpse again, to get that taste again, but we can't get it through that.
Yes.
So then the act of self-love is listening deeply. What's required here in this moment? And we have no idea what that is. So are we willing to discover it?
Mm.
And that's a very beautiful act of self-love.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yes.
So lovely to sit with you like this.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so beautiful.
Thank you, Yantra.
Oh,
It was beautiful.
thank you so much. Thank you. Yes.